All right, so the Meghan and Harry documentary has been really popping off on the charts this week. It is on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, it's like, I think it's like the top 10 on Netflix right now. It was juicy. It was juicy for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I'm sorry if I have anybody in the UK listening, but from an American standpoint at least, and after watching this documentary, the royal family's fucked up. That's the only way I can say it, is they're fucked up. The documentary, I'm not really going to get into all the details because you can just watch it. It's short, like 6 episodes. But it talks like it's Meghan and Harry's story of how they met, how things started to go wrong, and why they decided to pull away from the royal family and get rid of their titles and all that stuff. So it had to do, I think part of it, like how it was explained, had to do with a little bit of racism. Like it was very controversial that Meghan was mixed and that she'd been married and divorced before and that she was American, like all that kind of stuff. And she wasn't made to feel very comfortable about being half Black, which I kind of resonate like with what she was saying in the documentary too, because it's like people pick on this little, like this part of you, and it's like, okay, but like that's not even all of me, you know, like me being half white and half Asian, her being half white and half Black. She said growing up it was like I didn't really belong in any group, because the white people are like, oh, well, you're not fully white. And then the Black people are like, oh, well, you're not fully Black. And then vice versa. It's like people pick on you, like, or act like racist towards you for being, let's say, Black. And she's like, okay, but I'm only half too. So it's like, it's not my whole identity. Although it is a big part of it. So I kind of resonated with what she was saying there. I don't like it when people will see me and like make an Asian joke or something like that. And I'm like, you guys know, like there's other parts to me as well, you know, like there's more to a person than just what ethnicity their background is, which is a whole nother story, but that was something that I felt to be really relatable. But anyway, they essentially bullied Meghan into the point where she said to her mother, I don't want to live anymore. And that's sad on its own. You know, it's like we as people need to recognize like when our actions are passed on. That's not the way I'm trying to phrase it. Let's say what we do affects more people than just us. So you might not realize, or you might be, or maybe you do realize, like, what I'm saying is going to have a bad effect on someone. But when somebody gets to a point, I don't care. I know that there was a lot of hatred, like, from the family to Meghan and Harry, and there was the pot was very stirred. There was a lot of things going on, and obviously the waters were not kind and friendly. But when somebody admits and says, like, I don't want to live anymore, you need to drop the playing cards and think about the bigger picture here. And to me, that is like, that's just hate, honestly. Like, I was going to say it's racism, but it is just hate. If you know that somebody that you've been bullying and targeting wants to commit suicide and you don't even flinch, you just keep on harassing her, that is hate. I don't care what you've done to me, what you've done to, say, my family. I am never going to be okay with somebody killing themselves. It's not, I can't even get it out into words because of how, like, I have like the goosebumps right now just thinking about the fact that this family actually was okay with it. And not only that, but Meghan had voiced to them saying my mental health is suffering, like I am feeling suicidal, I would like to get help. And they denied her of help. She was not allowed to seek guidance. She was not allowed to see a therapist. She wasn't allowed to have a psychiatrist. She was completely left to her own devices to just suffer. And I just can't wrap my mind around it. She's lucky enough to have, like, I don't know, I guess that's just the difference between America and the UK. You know, for us, it's like we're free. You know, it's like I have health insurance. Like I have the privilege of going to use a therapist or like a health service. But over there, even in the royal family, she's told what she can and can't do. And that just like really blows my mind. That just really, I can't wrap my head around the fact that it's up to like the queen. Like the queen gets to decide what color I wear, if I can seek like help, if I can see a doctor. And I went like most of my life, honestly, up until like the whole Harry and Meghan stuff, thinking like, oh, Queen Elizabeth, she's so cute and she's so old. And like, I don't know, I thought Princess Kate was very beautiful. And I was just like, oh my God, like there's an actual king and queen still, and princes and princesses. Like, it's really cool that kind of, like, that's the kind of stuff that kids read in fairy tales. They don't tell you in fairy tales that basically the queen gets to decide whether you live or not when it comes down to it, you know? They don't tell you, like, the queen, I don't know. I mean, I guess you see it in some fairy tales, you know, it's like royalties and everything, you know, there's a lot of restrictions and whatnot, but God, I wanted to talk about it because if you've watched a documentary and you didn't see anything wrong with that, I just want you to rewind and think about it. You guys know that I'm a very, very big advocate for mental health and using the resources available to you. And I just can't fathom this idea that they, one, bullied her into feeling like she needed to not be on this earth anymore, which unfortunately does still happen. And then two, when they realize like, oh, like, wait, this is bad. Like what we say, like, might actually make her take her own life. They didn't bat an eye. They were like, oh, well, she goes. And that's just sickening. And I also wanted to bring it up just because I think it's like a nice reminder to have every once in a while that your words and your actions really, really go far. You might say something as a joke. You might think you're joking around or not really mean something, or you might fly off the handle and say something mean to a friend or whatnot. And just because those words or actions don't negatively affect you doesn't mean that they're going to have that same effect on someone else. You know, you don't know what a person's past trauma looks like. You don't know what their mental state looks like. You don't know how their brain works, and you don't know what triggers them, you know? So something that you say could be just like a mean joke to me, but that could be like something that pushes me over the edge, you know? And there's only so much a person can take until they pop. And I'm sick of seeing it happen. And I just don't think that it's right that there's people that don't see wrong in that. So obviously there's nothing that I can really do to change the way that the royal family views mental health and depression and all that kind of stuff. But what I can do is have a little serious sit down and talk with you guys about how it's really wrong. And just a little reminder, because I think we all need to be reminded, you know, I'm not immune. Like, I'm not an exception. I'm not an exception to this. We all need to be reminded every once in a while that little things that we say can have a very, very big effect. not saying we can never joke around, you know, it's like we get in fights and stuff, but just be conscious of it.